A little background for anybody who doesn't know who I am. My name is Crystal Castillo. I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that looks like is I consider myself a person who has struggled with substance use, incarceration, and trauma. Um, I identify as somebody who has been impacted by systemic trauma, family trauma, right? And the
Right.
trauma that I pretty much caused from my own choices, right? Um, that journey has been quite impactful for me. I am a person who was in foster care. I aged out of foster care, and I was on probation at 14, and I didn't get off parole till I was 38 years old. Um, Basically, one of those people who you would say were hopeless and had no shot in life at anything, right? Um, I've been to prison 3 times. And this last time that I went to prison, I did I got sentenced 6 years in California. And when I completed that sentence, I was going to be extradited to Arizona to do 25 to life or enhanced, right? Because it was my third time. And something popped. I was willing to go to prison and do things different, but I just wanted to do things different. And I was afforded an opportunity as a guinea pig, basically, for one of the pilot programs for the reentry programs through peer support. And I was extremely successful in that. And in lieu of 25 years, I got 2 years. And I've been on this journey ever since. It has
Yeah.
not stopped. One of those things I talk about all the time is that if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be where I am right now, I would have said you were a liar. Not that I'm anywhere great, but
No, I mean, like, testimony is awesome. It's power. You know what I'm saying? When you see people coming out of the trenches and doing good things and creating hope for other people, like, that's amazing. And just real quick, I want to touch on that lived experience edge of it because I mean, like, I know you got a bunch of certifications and you got your
yeah.
education, but what is that lived experience? How does that really affect you when you're trying to help other people?
Yeah, so that's great. That's a great question. So it's a skill to be able to tap into that lived experience coming from a strength based and positive perspective, right? And so for me, my journey started with just learning how to not pick up and use for that day for
Right.
my own personal, right?
Right.
And so, but being able to sit with somebody in the trenches when the house is on fire, right?
Yeah.
Or when the tears are falling,
Oh yeah.
or the world around them is falling apart, right? And being able to not have sympathy, but empathy. To be able to say, I don't know what you're feeling, but I've felt what you're feeling before. I've been in similar situations. Um, for me, in the beginning of my early recovery, it was a lot about just not picking up and using and maybe changing some decisions I had made, right? And it has evolved into this thing of self awareness and awareness of other people, right? And being able to know that I can use my experience of my recovery of how did I get through the burning flames, or how did I make it through the tears that were falling, right? And how did I get through white knuckling things, right? And so that's really what that lived experience is being able to utilize those skills I used in my life to overcome. And so what that looks like is a lot of times we are in the middle of crisis. We're humans, right? I don't care if you were a heroin addict. I don't care if you've never used drugs before in your life, right? We all have those times in our life that the world is on fire. And to be able to sit with somebody and know that they can't see the strengths that they have, right? We as a humanity, we slip into this victim mentality very easily, right? In society, it's not our fault. It is our fault as a collective, right? Right. Yeah. It is our fault as a collective, right? Because we promote that, right? Oh, poor me. And that's okay to feel those feelings, but to be able to help somebody identify their own strengths, to be able to share the stories of where we moved different and how that outcome was, or maybe Maybe I moved different and I wasn't successful in that, right? But what did I learn from that? How did that experience and that affect my journey, right? And being able to just not judge people, right? I don't have to accept you, the things you do, but I can understand you because I as well am a human being and I make choices that maybe other people don't agree with.
Going. And she was like, "Man, we like your videos, and we want to help you help get you some education and get you certified with the state and all this stuff." And so, like, it really helped me out. Really broadened my perspective on this whole support game, and made me appreciative of multiple pathways to recovery because, like, what works for you may not work for me.
Well, you better give a little bit more back burner story than that.
Well,
So
shoot it,
we
shoot it,
actually
shoot
go
it.
back a little bit further than
Okay,
just
yeah,
that.
we do. Okay, we
Let's
do.
be honest here.
We do. I forgot about that.
Right. Because
Yep,
I am in Austin, but I,
that's
I I
right.
was here in Amarillo,
I missed
and
that
and
part.
I was with another program, and
Yep.
and so Sean is was somebody I tried to hire at one point as well there, and I've seen you try to get over some challenges in your life, and I can relate to that, and just remembering that time and seeing you still pushing through, and that's kind of the piece that maybe you had missed when I reached out, right? It was is that like even though maybe I was kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? The person behind the curtain, right?
Well, it was funny because like I remembered the face. I didn't remember the name, but I'm like, I know her from somewhere,
Yeah.
and that's what made me like respond to
Yeah.
it because I was like, I don't know what this is about, but like I recognize her face.
Yeah. But to see you still pushing through in any avenue that you can, and then to see you on Facebook, and even though there was some no's in your life, you were, man, I resonated with that, right? Like that's it. I got to see a glimpse of what my recovery and life looks like. Let me just take the recovery part aside, right? The aspiring to get not only what you lost, but everything you came here for,
Right,
right?
right.
And to move into your purpose and be like, okay, this road, this door was closed on me. Bet I'm gonna try this way. And to just see you out there, like, you know what? Nobody is gonna sponsor me. I'm gonna sponsor myself. And that's the true essence of self empowerment, right? And
Right.
so we forget in recovery, especially in peer support services, right? Sometimes you see this that people forget the purpose is to be to help other people empower themselves.
Right, right.
And so to see you doing that without even the training, man, it's a rarity. You were a diamond in a rough, and that's why I told you. And again, we've had this conversation several times. Better not cry on me, man.
No, 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 no.
We're no matter what your future holds, you have a bright future,
Yeah.
right? And that's the thing is that that's why I love what I do. Period. Right? I get to meet people whether it's standing in Walmart, line, or I'm at a bus stop doing whatever, or I'm on a clock or whatever. Like I get to go out and remind people that we are all leaders. We all have a purpose. Um, the only person that makes a purpose look grandiose is yourself,
Oh
right?
yeah.
From
Yeah.
giving a buck to the person who's unhoused to getting on a podcast or running an organization. There's no differential in that power that of the impact you make on people,
Right.
right?
And I think that's like kind of like a testament to unconditional love.
Yeah.
25 years in the trenches, and when you're looking at it on paper, everybody's like,
Yeah.
"Well, you did this, you did this, you did this," and I'm sitting there looking. I'm like,
Yeah, no, I agree. So when I first tried to, I was court ordered. Let me say try when I was voluntold to when I was voluntold to do this recovery thing, right? Um, I again, I was part of a pilot program, right? And so there was my first exposure to choices, right? Granted, I abstinence was mandatory for me, and it still is, right? But now I get to choose being abstinent, right? And not that is there's a beauty in peer support because what happened was is 12 steps. I have a deep root in 12 steps, However, that's not my pathway anymore, right? Here, because what happened was, is being introduced to peer support, I was given options to discover and explore myself, um, and what made me feel whole and empowered, right? And so it actually was a catalyst to my own spirituality, right? And whether it doesn't matter what anybody believes, everybody's got a spirituality, even if you don't believe in anything, that's still a belief, right? And so I would argue that, right? Right. Um, but it has that was the one thing that fueled me to shifting from that perspective of recovery is being clean to recovery is healing. Right. And so that it's been a beautiful thing, and I've been able to adapt and incorporate and integrate like all these different things in my life and be able to see where I'm really strong in some areas, and I can use those strengths to fill in some gaps that maybe I need some help in, right? And it's so much so that over the years it's gone from I don't even look at like things as a lack for better terms, characters as defects anymore, right? I look at them more of like distorted strengths, right? They're strengths that I just don't know how to capitalize in. And so that's what peer support has done for me. And so it's funny because when I say peer support, it always feels weird to me because it used to be a pathway to recovery for me. And then it used to be a career, but now it's just a way of life. I use it in my parenting. I use it in my relationships with my friends. I use it with the jerk who cut me off. Um, because I'm not always nice, right? And so, but being able to say, well, how did that work out for you when he cut you off and you flipped him off and he slammed his brakes in front of you, right? Like I'm able to identify these skills in that are strengths, even in things that people would say were weaknesses. And so, yeah, that's scary. So I mean that whole cliche from the rooms, right? We talk about man, I'm losing forgot what I was gonna say. Um, not to forget where we came from, right? Remember where you came from, right? And so um, I think everybody has it is right, and it is, and I think that everybody has like this their own unique journey, right? And but we have some commonalities like in judgment is a huge one, right? And so for me personally, I can only speak from the experience that I have, right, of how I was able to shift that. um we all are going to judge, we're humans, right? And so but as I feel like as long as it's something we work on continuously, and what it for me it requires I naming it, right? Being able to say, oh wow, that's an implicit bias, whether it's you know obvious or not, right? Being able to say, um, well, why do you feel that way? Right. If I'm not at a zen, like if I'm not feeling peace, then there's something unsettled. And so for my own journey personally, what I've learned was is so I follow a lot of practices from Carl Jung. I don't know if you know who that is, but it's a he's a well, he's not here anymore. He's long gone, but he did psychotherapy, right? And so and it talks about the shadow self, and it's not about so we're all trying to like wrestle these demons that we feel we have, and but being able to kind of sit with these aspects of yourself to a point where you're like, okay, there's some beauty and there's some ugly in everything, right? And actually, so if I don't like something you're doing, Sean, actually, it's a reflection of myself. So being able to identify if I'm judging you, it's because I'm judging myself, right? So I've experienced being homeless before, right? And so there was a period in my life that I was judgmental, right? Of that. And life has a funny way of reminding you not to judge, right? But being able to be in recovery and use those skills and say, well, why are you feeling judgmental? Well, maybe it's not because I think they're doing anything wrong, but maybe it's because I'm ashamed somebody might know I was homeless once or 10 times, right? Not only was I homeless once, I was perpetually homeless. I would gain everything and I would lose everything. I would gain everything and lose everything. And so really my judgment of you, and I'm just using, right? My judgment of you is actually a reflection of the things that I haven't healed within me. And so nobody's judging me. I'm judging me for the same reason I'm judging you. And so I think that, and that's my own personal experience with that. But that is why I love what we do so much in like humanity, is being able to remind people in a loving way that, hey, you're really not that different. You know, maybe you never had somebody have to hit you with Narcan to bring you back because you'd never done fentanyl or heroin before, right? But have you ever been so sick from drinking all night with your buddies, right? Or did you ever eat so much that you gained 50 pounds, right? Um, there's some common ground there, and just being able to understand. And then for me personally, it is I feel like my attribute to the world is to model it by naming it in me, by having the courage to say, Sean, I'm a jerk, right? Right. Like, you know what I did today? I'm such a jerk. I said that. You know what I mean? And being able to say that, being able to say, I'm not trying to kill my ego, but I'm trying to bring my ego to the
It's like
surface,
owning those character flaws.
owning it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Instead of saying my shit don't stink, letting everybody know, hey, my shit stinks.
yeah,
You might want to give it 5 minutes,
yeah. You
right?
know, well, like when you can own those character flaws, you know what I'm saying? When you can actually own it, and I think that's kind of like when we go into the rooms and they say, put it down on paper or tell it to
Right.
somebody else, because that gives it conviction. Like at that point, I can no longer manipulate it or justify it in my head
Right.
to the reasoning as to why I did it. You know what I mean? And from then, once you tell somebody or you put it on paper, then it becomes a healing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it comes from a place of healing. Okay, now what can I learn from
Yeah.
it? Where can I go from it? You know, how can I prevent
love
that?
I
From
love
happening?
that, and I'm a big advocate for putting things on paper. And so anybody who knows me knows I'm like into expressive arts and writing and journaling, and those are tools that I've picked up along the way. They're not for everybody, right?
No,
But they are for me. But because you say that it's hard to manipulate it, but I'm pretty creative. I could manipulate it if I really wanted to. Even on paper, I could be like, because, and do the shifting blame, right?
right.
Not that I want to blame myself, but so here's the part. So I'm really transparent. Learning how to say I did this because I was afraid.
Yeah.
That's hard for people to do. And so being able to say it, write it, and actually share it with others, and then have others hold me accountable to what I shared. Not only do I think it is incredibly useful in my own recovery, but I think it inspires people. We all come to this world with lots of gifts, and
Absolutely.
I think that's one of my treasures is that I'm very self aware, but it's a practice. I wasn't always that way,
It's,
right?
it's
Like
one of those courageous steps.
it's
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like when you're in a world of fear,
yeah,
you got to get outside your comfort zone and kind of get a little courageous and
yeah,
creative and start trying new things.
yeah,
You know, to create some
yeah.
hope for something better at the end of that road. And so one thing I've done this in my recovery is put healthy fears in place
Okay.
sometimes. Like, and they've gone really bad for me, like really
I was
bad.
just gonna say, okay,
Like
how'd that work out
no,
for you?
no. Well, and so, but I really want to touch on this
Okay.
because a lot of times you'll find people coming into recovery and they're doing it for something other,
Clarify that for me.
like for their children
Okay.
or their jobs or they're just their families, things like that. And one thing I've learned is like can't interfere with other people's free will.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just because I get straight and I say I'm sorry doesn't mean they have to take it, you know? And so, like, what I found was that, like, when I did that and I got sober and I was 2 years in and went to go make my amends, and they pretty much told me it was too late. And it was really devastating to my sobriety. You know what I mean? Like, it went out, I relapsed. You know what I mean? I used it as an excuse. to fall
Yeah,
off
because you know I
again.
was gonna call you on that right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
no,
Because
I
the
know.
coach in me is like, hey, I'm a
No,
truth
I
teller.
did. I absolutely did. You know, I used it as an excuse to
Yeah.
fall off. I got depressed, got down on
hmm
myself, so like, what is your opinion on those healthy fears?
So there was a lot to unpack in that what you just said
Right,
there,
right,
right?
right.
Because like the coach in me, the recovery coach in me, really wanted to kind of first touch on something real quick.
Go for it. Go
So
for it.
yeah,
I'm always
so
down to learn something new.
yeah. So for me as a coach in peer support, right? You say some people come in and they're doing it for all these other reasons. And so this is where I say things mirror,
Mhm.
right? For when I hear that, I have to remind myself, for me, who am I to say what their reasons are for and if they're valid or not,
Right.
right? I might be able to say that didn't work for me, but I can't say that that didn't work for them as their motivators. And that's something that I really like. That's been a root of my even my training, right? Is finding people's motivators. So, and the reason I say that, and obviously, like, you know, devil's advocate here. So, I got clean for my kids. You can't take your kids to prison,
Right.
right? And I lost custody of my kids, and I was on an ankle bracelet, and I was on parole in California and Arizona, and I chased my kids to California. I put in for an interstate compact 3 times and was denied. And you know this story, so I'm not going to go
Yeah,
too deep
yeah, yeah.
into
You're
that
good. You're good.
for reasons.
Yeah.
You're right. And I chased my kids to Texas just to be able to sit in on the side of the street and maybe see them go into their school, right? Um, I lived in a motel for 5 months, and then I moved into a single wide trailer that was broke down, and I lived there for a couple years, and I did all those things. I walked 15 miles a day, here over here in good old Plainview, right? I did
Man.
all those things. I busted my butt, and I got my kids. Something I was told I'd never be able to do again, right? They're still the reason I'm in recovery. They're just not the reason I choose to be abstinent. It was a motivator, but my kids are my purpose. And for me, like in Buddhism, right? And Taoism, we talk about like you take a pebble and you drop it into a pond, and people forget about all those ripples it makes.
Right.
Right. And so, and to the first person, like that first layer of awareness, okay, now you're aware it made ripples. Well, let's take it a step further. Those ripples, what does it impact? Well, maybe there's life forms in the water, right? That you don't think that the waves don't move the ducks or the turtles, right? What about the rocks when it hits and erodes the stone away, right? What about the reefs that sway back and forth, right? Those ripples are very impactful.
I like that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so my purpose, I have lots of purposes. We all do, right? But the fact that I'm sitting here not in prison still, right? Like my youngest daughter is 14, and she was going to be 27 years old before I was eligible for my first parole hearing. She's here with me in Amarillo today, right? Like
That's
I'm
awesome.
here.
That's awesome.
And so what can I do different, right? Because remember, everything I did, those had ripples.
Right.
So I would be careful of to say that's why we do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you had to do a lot of self improvement.
I still am. I still
You
got a lot to
know,
work
so
on.
and so that's why I just try to remind
Yeah.
everybody. Focus needs to be on self improvement.
Yeah.
Because proving ourselves to people, they don't always have to see it our way. But if we improve ourselves,
Yeah.
then we
It requires honesty.
oh yeah, a lot.
That's the thing. I mean, if anybody was going to take home any one key point of changing your life, whether you were abstinent or you were not abstinent, right? Whether you're on parole or not parole, whatever your circumstances are, even no matter what choices you make tomorrow, those little bit movements are impactful, right?
Absolutely.
And so making choices, and even if they don't turn out the way you wanted them to turn out, just being honest with yourself and saying, where did it go wrong in your opinion, right? Because it's everybody's wrong is their own opinion, right?
Right.
What can I do different? right? What did I learn from this? What is my part in it?
Yeah.
Really, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
The roles we play.
yeah, take a responsibility for not only the things that are not going well, but the things that are going well as well, right? Like being able to own, I was victorious today.
Yeah.
It's
And
important.
you know, I love the fact that like, so when I came into recovery, I started going to college for my psychology degree.
Right.
I wanted to be an LCDC, right? And that dream kind of got shot down. I'm still in school for my psychology
Temporary.
degree. Yeah, temporarily
Right.
shot down, you know. And so then, of course, I connected with you, and you're like, let's go into peer support. So I did all the training for that. That got temporarily put on hold. And, it just, when you stay true to yourself and don't stop, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you keep pushing, it really shows you how resilient people can be. You know what I mean? Like if you keep just moving and doing the next right thing, things open up. And even if those doors are closed forever, I still learned something in each one of
Yeah.
them steps. Like I learned
Absolutely.
a lot, that just keeps furthering the direction of where I'm going. You know what I mean? And when you see the impact, not just in yourself, but the people around you, when you start to elevate and people behind you start to elevate, you know what I mean? Like it's a beautiful feeling. I love being a part of recovery. You know, and real quick, Narcan. If you know anybody who's on opiates, Narcan. Always carry Narcan. It will save your life. It saved my life from a fentanyl overdose about 5 years ago.
I would even suggest, even if you know anybody who's not on opioids,
Just on drugs, period.
or
Or
you know,
anybody really,
anybody really,
you
right?
know.
Like you just never know. People get slip things. People come in contact. Remember opioids, especially fentanyl. Fentanyl is not only something that people use illegally on the streets, but is also something that's prescribed and goes home with people. And so I think it's extremely important to have that awareness, no judgment. Narcan saves lives.
And speaking about that judgment about Narcan, so when I was an addict, I was against this stuff. I was because I was a heavy heroin user, okay, and I was around a bunch of heavy heroin users, and we would sit there and like literally push it to the limits because we knew this was sitting on the table. You know what I mean? Like we knew we could bounce back, and so I was really conflicted about it. I was like, does this really
I remember
save
you
lives?
sharing this story
Does
with
this
me.
literally save lives, or is this just test the waters of how far we can really push this thing? And then I think it was somebody that worked with you. He told me, he said, or does work with you. I'm not really sure. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to put him
Yeah,
on
yeah,
blast.
you're good.
But he told me, he said, well, what's more important, saving lives or being sober? You know what I mean? Like you really have to put that. Do you want to save someone's life, or do you care? Which do you care about more? And when he said that, I was like, you know what? He's right.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
put life before sobriety.
Yeah.
And so for that, I can definitely appreciate this stuff. It did save my life.
Funny story about that. So, and I kind of touched on it earlier when we were talking before this. So I used to do youth services, and I was up in the Lubbock, the JJ school, and I was doing a group there, and we were talking about, opioids and overdose, and because they were all, they're little kids, right? And they were, oh, I just smoke weed and I'm just doing dap pens. And that was it. I was doing an educational piece about how it is in there. It can be in there. Your plug can lace it. And they were like, my plug wouldn't do that. And I swear, as God is my witness, as I turned around from the whiteboard, I watched them pass the dap pen, right? He was 11 years old, and he hit that one time, and he OD'd right there, and that saved his life. And he was 11 years old, hadn't even gone through puberty yet. And so, you know, in life, I've always had mixed beliefs and views about a lot of different, right? But what I know is as a human being, they may not want their life to be saved.
Yeah.
Or they could try again with somebody else. Because as long as you're around me, I don't care how many needles you got hanging from your arm or what the circumstances are, I'm going to bring you back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but just knowing that, like, being able to see the statistics and the data into real life, man, that stuff works fast. It
Does.
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 Yeah. And,
So when I had my fentanyl overdose, it brought me back before the ambulance showed up.
yeah.
I was awake for a good 5 minutes
Yeah.
before the ambulance ever even got there. Which of course everybody was explaining to me how much of an a-hole I was because when I snapped out of it, I was totally lit.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you weren't high anymore.
Yeah, it was out of body experience. It was
Yeah.
really weird, and I didn't
Yes.
know what was
Right.
going on, and everybody was staring at me, and I was dripping wet because sweating,
Yeah.
like a cold sweat, and I was like, "What are all y'all looking at?" They're like, "Bro, you died," and I was like, "Y'all are crazy. I didn't die." They're like, "Yeah, we hit you with
Yeah.
both Narcans," and by about that time, that's when I heard the ambulance pulling up. Like, it freaked me out.
Yeah.
It really
Most
freaked me out.
definitely. Yeah.
And
That kid too. I mean, and he wasn't even an opioid user. It was just in that, but just the experience of everybody around him and all of the things that were happening, and that was an intense moment.
it's freaky
Yeah.
because like you're dead before you know it.
Yeah.
When you have an opioid overdose, it's not like something I feel it coming on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you are out of there instantly.
Yeah.
Like and when I woke up, I just thought about everything. You know, it was like people I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to. You know what I mean? Was I really ready to die? Like, you know what I mean? It's like all these stuff hits you, and it's like, that thing killed me that quick. Like it took me out that fast.
And just think, if somebody wouldn't have hit you with that, regardless of your opinions before,
Oh yeah.
you wouldn't be here now
No,
to do
and
the
that's
things
what
that
I'm
you're
saying.
doing.
I can absolutely
Yeah.
appreciate it. Like I get it. You know what I mean? And you know,
Yeah.
homeboy really helped me understand it. Like
Yeah.
because it does in the mind of an addict. You know what I mean? It does kind of push those limits a little bit, knowing that they can get brought back. But when you're actually talking about saving someone, that is a beautiful product. You know?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
I mean, and here's the thing: at the end of the day, not everybody is an addict, right?
Right.
You
Right.
know, and not everybody might be exposed to fentanyl because they used even, and so that just kind of, I guess that's that perspective thing, right?
Well, I've lost a lot of friends. Like I've lost
me
a
too.
whole lot of friends
too.
to heroin.
Yeah.
And you know, and Narcan was around, but
Me
when
too. I wish they'd make one of those for cops.
it just wasn't on
Make the
scene.
cops go away.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Those are the two things I lose my friends to: the cops and
Man,
heroin. So
Man, I'm trying to tell you.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
So real quick, before we wrap up, a lot of people don't know about harm reduction.
Ah,
And
yes.
and when I did the training for it, I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see some things I was concerned about.
And that's the thing. Typically, you either love it or hate it.
Yeah. No, but I get it. When you're
Yeah.
talking about quality of life, when you're talking about saving lives, and you really have to put that in
Yeah.
front of people's sobriety.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people also tell you, that pushes the boundaries of enabling and you know what I mean? So, and you could probably explain this way better than I can.
Yeah. So, and I definitely am not the number one sponsor. I mean, I am an advocate. We all know that. Like, I'm diehard harm reduction. Absolutely. I think the problem is that typically when, especially up here in the Panhandle, right? This is a different culture than it is in Austin. But I think there's a broad spectrum of that viewpoint where it's like, oh, needle exchanges and when we're talking about harm reduction, right?
Right.
Safe use kits, and that is a part of it. It is a small piece of harm reduction, though. Harm reduction can go as far as carrying Narcan on you and needle exchanges, or accepting somebody who says, I want to stop doing this, but I want to do this still in my recovery, right? And it's about walking alongside somebody and helping them with those tools to make the quality of their life better, right?
Right.
And maybe it's easier for me to embrace it and appreciate it for its value as from coming from a person who is a gutter hype.
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And institutionalized, right? Group homes, foster homes, right? Like prisons, jails, the streets, right? And just what do we always say when we want, like I remember wanting to get clean, right? And all those times and it was like, man, if somebody would just give me an opportunity. I just need a hand up, right? So like for me, my personal stories is I never got to go to treatment.
Yeah.
I always went to prison, right? But I remember like thinking I probably couldn't put it down. And things are different now, right? You absolutely can go to rehab and detox now. Back in the
I
day, you
remember signing for prison just because I was so scared of rehab.
right, but now you can like you can go
Yeah.
and you can go detox, right? And that those weren't there for me. And that, but keep in mind that is kind of like that model, right? Being able to say, oh, okay, so we got a plan. We're planning things out. You need groceries. Okay. In the meantime, here in Texas, it's ridiculous that fentanyl strips are illegal, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's that soapbox of mine, right?
Yeah. No,
It's
but
absolutely
it's,
illegal,
you know what I
right?
mean?
It's ridiculous,
I don't understand it personally. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, give people the
right?
opportunity to save themselves. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
to the way harm reduction was put to me was keep people alive until they can find sobriety.
But here's my thing: just keep people alive, even if they don't want sobriety,
Right.
right? It's not my place to tell somebody what recovery looks like to them. Do I have my own beliefs? And right, of course, but you, and it's a skill. It takes a
Like
minute
when
to
you're
learn
talking
how to
about quality of life.
yeah, it takes it a minute to separate what what I want for them and what they want for them.
Right.
It's not my place. I take their power away when I start telling them that, right? And so like when we talk about harm reduction, so MAP, right? That is part of harm reduction. And I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody who is taking methadone or Suboxone that their recovery is any different than mine because they take a pill to not get sick, right? That their quality of life should be just as valued and have the same opportunities to it as the next person who doesn't have anything in their system, right? I think that's the part is that, and if we really, and so like this is where my heart is in like humanity. If you really get down to the nitty gritty, I could sit here and I could tell you there is not a single person on this planet that doesn't struggle with obsessive compulsive disorders
Oh
and
yeah.
addictions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. How many people who are watching this right now are scrollers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How many people shop too much or eat too much or vape too much or
Hmm.
drink too much coffee or watch porn or obsessively helicopter parent their kids or there are or over exercise or all these things, right? We all can look inside ourselves and see that we all have addictive tendencies. And for me personally, I believe it's that because we're so busy trying to find something to make us feel worthy and whole inside that's outside of ourselves instead of going within, myself included, right? It's a progress. It's
Right.
a process,
Right.
right? So that's kind of where that if people could remember that heroin is no different than overspending. It is different, but it's not. It's the same hole
Right.
you're trying to fill up and or not feel.
Right.
Right.
I got you. Okay. I'm gonna ask you one more question,
Okay.
and then we can finish up. Okay. And this is something that y'all brought to light with me, and I completely agree with it. The way the recovery movement is going, how important it is to remove the stigma from it.
That is hands down. That is the movement. Every person plays a key role in that. I would challenge everybody out there to really take a look at those belief systems, whether you inherited them from your culture, from your parents, from your community, whatever, right? Or that's just something that you experienced. I would challenge you to start really looking at those, right? Because we all know what it feels like to be judged and to be outcasted for something. And so in order to heal, we have to stop shaming people.
Right. I think that's where the whole unconditional love and
Yeah.
unconditional respect really comes
Yeah.
into play. When we're talking about drug addiction
Yeah.
and substance use disorders and psychiatric disorders, the way we put labels on people, the way we brand people.
People who've been incarcerated, people of different colors, people
Oh
of
yeah.
different, however they identify or their sexual orientation, all of these things. And that's the part is that, like, especially with my kids, right? Because they're so young. I always try to tell them it's okay to believe something and still love somebody who believes it differently.
Right. Right.
Right. And that, I think, especially when we're talking about, supporting people with where they're at, whether it be, substance use or mental health challenges, especially, that's the part is that nobody can get help if they're afraid to come to you because you're judging them. We want to talk about numbers. There you go.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, I feel the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel once you start judging people, you start betraying people. You start really betraying yourself.
Yeah.
You miss the chance to be a blessing in people's lives. And when we act out of judgment, I really feel like we start creating monsters at that point.
Yeah.
Like we start creating detachments,
or we're the monster.
Yeah, but I mean, like in the souls of people,
Yeah.
You look outside and you talk about all these, murders and all these horrible things going on in the world, but yet people don't look at the role they play in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, that person did that, but we created that person by our judgments and stigmas and labels and the way we do things in the world.
That quote, be the change you want to see in the world. I really believe that is like the principle of like recovery support services, right? Because
be the difference.
You're modeling it.
Yeah, be the difference
Right.
every way. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I love about people coming into recovery is because all get.
Yeah, absolutely.
That moment.
Absolutely. Even in withdrawal, because you're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel that way. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you might not have, but somebody else might have been like, "Dang, he's
you took
he's
that step.
doing it."
Took
It
that
takes
step.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, and I love it when people from my old neighborhood they'll hit me up. They're like, "Bro, we're checking you out, bro." Like this. I mean, and it's cool. Like you never really when we're talking about dropping that rock into that where the ripples go.
Right.
You never know where those ripples are going to go. I mean, I've got friends in California, people all over Texas. Like recovery is a huge thing, and I want to see the movement grow. I want to see it get a lot more support because it's a really big problem, in the world. But I think recovery branches off into everything.
Yeah,
it's not just an addiction.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think
like,
I think recovery as long as everybody remembers we're recovering from something.
Yeah.
Whether to never think that you have recovered, right?
Yeah.
I don't identify as an addict, right? We've talked about this. I'm a person in long-term recovery.
No, I don't either.
Right? No, right. And it's cool if somebody does, but I'm still recovering from life.
Yeah.
It shows up, right? I'm recovering from being an asshole.
Yeah.
Every day.
And that's what I tell people. I always tell people when I go into the rooms, I'm like, if the problem is me in the room,
it's always me.
Then the problem is we outside the room.
That exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like if I got to own it inside the room, then socially and in our communities, we have to own that problem.
Right. The minute I say that the problem is something outside myself, then I have ceased to recover.
Yeah. There we go. And what I find is really funny. Well, I don't find it funny. I find it hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed people at accountability because you got to own up to some pretty dirty things. You know what I mean?
I would challenge you to say that about anybody, though. But everybody has a hard time with that.
Here's what I've noticed. People.
Oh, yeah.
They will immediately.
Yeah. You know what that tells me? If you don't mind me, is some feedback. So what? if I was in your shoes, right, I would look, for me, I think I would look at such an opportunity to really maybe reflect daily on where I could show up with my flaws to model that different behavior to those people. Because, okay, so you believe in God, right? So God didn't put those people around you for you to identify that. Because really, ultimately, what it is it keeps you accountable to you too. Right. Which probably means you struggled with it before. That's why you noticed it, because now you're aware. Right. And so I would encourage you to continue to model the behavior that you wished you saw in them, because now you're modeling it. Right. And you're keeping yourself accountable and responsible to your own growth, while being, whether they pick up on it or not. Right. But you're giving them an example to glean off of. Right. All right.
YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, we're going everywhere, y'all. We'll have the merch store up. We'll have tons of merchandise. Please look through and just support a recovery in general. You know, it costs money to do these kinds of things. We can always use your support and help to help spread the word of recovery and really be the difference in people's lives.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for coming out. That's a wrap, y'all. I loved it. Good show.